and welcome back to the plot. Today, as it's such a lovely day, I thought we'd just wander around, have a look at what's growing, see what's worked, what's been eaten, what is growing really strong, and just generally enjoy being on the plot. So this is the first bed as you come through the allotment gate, and it's got tomatoes in it, and they're doing really well. They're beginning to form their fruits now. Hopefully we'll get some good tomatoes from this bed. There's a variety of Outdoor Girl, San Manzano, Elsa Craig over that side, and Gardener's Delight. So there's a good mixture of different varieties in this bed. Sadly, the basil that's here has been eaten, and the marigolds that would have made a lovely display up the middle have been eaten, as have some of the little small sunflowers at the end in the in-ground bed. We've got two that have got sunflower heads, and then the heads of the other ones have been eaten off, as have their leaves. So that's not good, but the two dwarf sunflowers are looking really good. They're looking lovely. So overall, this bed's doing well, apart from the munching from the critters. And the second tomato bed I've got, the tomatoes are just beginning to put their fruits on now. I do need to sort out the staking on this bed before it gets too out of hand. We're sharing the bed with the onions, and the onions are doing well. They're some of the Kelsey ones, which are the big ones, they're growing really well. Some of the other varieties I've got, which are Regensburger and Elsa Craig, I want to say, I think that's right. Some of them have flopped over, so I think they might be ready for picking, but others of them are still standing up. So I'm going to leave them in for a bit longer just to make sure that they have flopped over of their own accord, and it isn't that, you know, a rabbit has stepped on them to get to the marigolds, which again, some of these marigolds have been eaten in this bed, but some of them have survived and are putting on a good display. So this bed is doing well. The sweet peas at the end of the bed are looking glorious. I'm so pleased with them. They really do give a really good splash of colour, and because they're different colours, it just draws your eye in. I really enjoying the sweet peas, and the smell of them is lovely too. And we've also got some antirrhinum doing well in this bed, and the lupins are growing and have been left alone, so that is good. And then at the outskirts of the allotment, next to the two tomato beds, we've got our carrot bed here, which is growing little finger, and we've got the sunflower bed in here. We've got exact opposite to the other side, but I have to say the carrots are not really fattening up. They've been in for quite some time now, and they're still tiny little tiddlers, so I'll have to give them a bit longer. The sunflowers, however, are doing really well. We've got a few heads now. They should be taller, they should be giant sunflowers, but I think I just held them too long, so because the bed wasn't ready, so I didn't get them in the ground in enough time. But they're still giving us a good display, apart from the ones on the other side, which have been eaten by something. I'm not sure what, but something has nibbled off one of the tops of the middle sunflower, so that's just how it goes. And the other bed, that variety is Early Nance, and again, they are growing well. They're not as patchy as the little finger this side. There's a good coverage of carrots in there, but they're still tiny. They're not growing very big at all. But anyway, there are other things that are growing well. Again, this bed on this side, like the sunflowers the other side, they are doing slightly better, the sunflowers, because I've kept them covered. But these ones are not as tall as the other side, so I think I need to take the cover off now. They have still been attacked. You can see that something must have put its head through the net and nibbled off the little sunflower, which is a shame because they're very cute, the little ones. And Oh well, we'll have to do a bit better next year with trying to ward off these pests. And then the beetroot is growing really, really well. They're a lovely size for beetroot. They're not too big. They're like between a golf ball and a tennis size normally. So they are growing really well. And my broad beans are ready to come out now. I'm going to plant some more beetroot in that place when I get round to taking out the broad beans. And then on the other side, we've got our parsnips, which are growing well now I've netted them. But I do need to thin them out now because some of them have got 2 or 3 parsnips per station, and they won't grow very big if I don't thin them out. So I'll just need to go through and pick the best one, which is sometimes a bit harder than it sounds because they all look quite good, you know, and just hope that the parsnip that remains thrives and having its own space. Again, the sweet peas on the in-ground bed at the bottom of this bed are just phenomenal. They're a really lovely, lovely colour and they smell so lovely. I'm really, really pleased with the sweet peas. I never thought I would be pleased with sweet peas, but I am. And the lupins and the antirrhinum are doing well here too. And then the sweet corn is growing well. Hopefully we'll have some sweet corn there. No cobs are formed yet, but they've got the tassels at the top. So hopefully germination, pollination will be happening as I speak. And then where I planted the dwarf beans below the sweet corn, they have been decimated by either rabbits or we've got rats now. I saw a rat down here this morning. I was chatting with my friend and I literally saw the rat go one way by the old compost heaps, and then as me and my friend were still chatting, we both saw it coming back. So I think it's a rat. It's either a rat or a mouse. It was something anyway, and not rabbit like. So we got that down here as well. Yay! Under this cloche are celeriac, 2 types of celeriac, giant Prague this side, monarch that side. I would say that the monarch is doing slightly better, but everything is beginning to bulb up. You can see there is a little bulb forming underneath the foliage, which is great. The spring onions are growing back now after they were eaten by whatever ate them, and so are some of the celeriac this side that had most of its foliage taken off has come back, which is good. The courgettes at the in the in-ground bed and the dahlias, they are doing really well as well. I'm harvesting them now more or less whenever I come down because I'm busy at the moment, so I'm not coming down that often. You know, it's probably about twice a week. So they are doing well. And then this is the bed directly opposite the celeriac bed. And again, the in-ground courgettes are doing really, really well, as is the dahlia and the antirrhinum in this bed. In this bed, I'm not sure what to say about the peas. They don't seem to be getting any taller whatsoever, but they are still producing peas. So there are a few pods forming on them. The bottom of the peas are looking very poor. They're quite yellow and the leaves have died, but the tops are looking green. So I'm happy with how that is going, as long as we keep getting the peas. That is what is most important. Although I did expect them to climb and we have like this big wall of peas, but it hasn't done that. The Swiss chard in this bed is doing well. I have had to take out 2 of the plants because they've bolted, but the other 6 that are in here are growing well, and we're getting a decent harvest off them, which is most welcome because my lettuce is not doing very well at home at all. And the sweet corn in this bed is just slightly behind the one in the other bed, but it was planted about a month after that one. So hopefully it's holding its own and we'll get some sweet corn from there. This bed here is a real tale of 2 halves. The squashes and cucumbers are really thriving. The beans have all been eaten. There's hardly any beans left here now. So either we get rid of the vermin that are eating that, well, I don't know if rabbits are counted as vermin really, but either we get rid of the rabbits and the rat now that's in here for next year, or I just grow all my beans at home next year. But I need to think of something now to fill this big gap that's there. But like I said, the squashes are doing really well. We've got a Robin's coconut squash forming here. We've got cucumbers forming here. We've got 2 or 3 on here that I think are probably about ready to take. Obviously this coconut squash will just leave because you harvest at the end of the season. And towards the back of the bed we've got more cucumbers forming, which is great, and the squash plants there are doing well too. Again, this is another bed that's a bit of a tale of two halves. The leeks are doing really well. I'm very excited by how these leeks are looking, because I haven't had much luck with leeks over the past few years. But the carrot germination here has been absolutely atrocious. I do not know why, but they only seem to want to like germinate at this side and that side, and they don't seem to like the middle ground whatsoever. So I will sow some more, and I will try and get down here. I'm going to wait until the weather is not so hot, and then hopefully the ground won't dry out so quick, and those carrots will germinate. So I will sow some more, but I shall bide my time and wait for a more appropriate time. And now we come to the part of the allotment that still needs lots of work doing. So I have tidied up this area. There's a crate over there that needs to go to the dump, and a few other things that need to go to the dump. But I did have cleared this area in the hopes that in the next few weeks we can get some beds in here. I think I can fit 2 beds here. I want to dig up the nettles that are behind me and get some forward momentum again, because it feels like we've come to a bit of a stop with this area and, you know, this part of the allotment. So fingers crossed we can get moving and get some things in the ground, get some beds made, and get some more things planted out. And similarly, these Brassica cages have had no forward movement either. So hopefully I'm going to crack on with this very soon and get stuff done, because it just feels like it's just a lot of watering and harvesting at the moment, which is good, but I kind of like the building of things as well, and I like things to be done. I don't like all this, you know, like left not completed. So fingers crossed we can get cracking in the next couple of weeks. The rhubarb in this area has come back now. It did die down quite a lot because it doesn't really like hot weather. It prefers a lot of moisture, so it always flakes a bit in the summer, a bit like me really. And here is my crown prince squash, which I'm growing on my compost heap, and we have 1 crown prince growing there and another one just forming on this tendril here. So hopefully we'll get at least 1 crown prince squash this year, which will be good because they are my absolute favourite. And finally, I still have this nettle patch and that compost heap to sort out. This is where I saw the rat this morning, in that compost heap there. So there's probably a nest there somewhere. So I'll have to think about how to get rid of the rat that's there, because I think that the rabbit warren is also there. So when I come to do this area, I'll have to be careful that I don't dig the spade in and fall into a big blinking hole, because it seems like all rodents and wildlife seems to be living here. But that is as much as I've got to show you down here. Let's go home and see what I've still got growing at home. We're in the front garden at home now, where I've got some beans growing on this side, some raspberries going down, and then there's some pots of blueberries at the far end. And this side is all growing really well. These, oh, they're black beef resistant beans are just romping away. They are doing really well. We've got some beans forming here. The Morning Glory, that's in that one there. Again, the foliage is looking great, but we haven't had any flowers. You know, there's been no display of blue Morning Glory flowers first thing in the morning so far, but the foliage is still growing, so hopefully it's only a matter of time. We are getting some raspberries now to harvest, and there are blueberries that are ready to. Some of the blueberries have got a few actual blueberries ready. So this side is all looking good. And on this side of the front garden, we've got some fruit trees here. There's some potatoes and dahlias, which are doing really well. And this fruit tree is an apple one, and it's not doing too bad. I need to thin out these apples to just leave like one growing because it's not doing great. And I think if the tree put all its efforts into just the one fruit, we might, you know, get a couple of apples off it rather than a bunch of them like here. But my other apple tree, which is just two plants down, is doing really poorly. The apples are really small on it, and it's not a crab apple. I don't know why they're so small, but it's been fed the same as the others, and they're just not doing very well. We got loads of grapes forming along here, so hopefully we'll get some sort of harvest from them. This is the tree that I said is not doing very well, so I'm not sure what to say about that. But the grapevine goes all the way along there. And then we can come to the soft fruit area here. This area of soft fruit is mostly done. We've harvested all the black currants, the gooseberries, the red currants. The rhubarb is starting to come back now, but I'll probably leave that for the winter. And there are just a handful of jostaberries left. Well, not a handful, there's quite a lot, but I've decided that I've got enough jostaberries to be going on with. Down here, I was in work the other day and they had those geranium plants going really cheap. They were like 35p a plant. So I got as many as I could get, and I just need to find homes for them, as well as the petunia and the marigolds. They've been given a lovely splash of colour here, but I really need to get them in the ground so they can thrive. I've got a nice pile of ivy on the floor here from where my husband pulled it off the wall and just dumped it, making the front garden look very untidy. However, let's move on to this asparagus bed here, which now only has asparagus and a few potatoes at the bottom ready for harvesting. And I mentioned this in my last vlog, so if you want to see my opinions on this bed, please check out my last one, because I went into quite a lot of depth about the problems with this bed. And then on this side, I've got the Atlantic Giant and the Big Max pumpkin. There's no sign of any fruit on anything yet, but we'll have to give it time, and hopefully it'll give us something anyway. These potatoes here are Mozart, and they're a main crop and they're doing really well. There's no sign of any flowers on them yet, so they're not quite ready, but they're looking good. The foliage is looking good compared to some of my other ones anyway. This is doing really well. The parsley pots on that shelf are doing well, and if we come round to the mini greenhouse, the chillies are beginning to get a lot of fruit now, so that's looking good as well. And the chillies that are growing outside, I actually think are doing slightly better at this moment than the ones in the greenhouse. They seem to have more fruit. The fruit is not as big as the one in the greenhouse, but they do seem to be setting more. So we'll have to wait and see which ones produce better, but they're still doing the comparison between growing inside and outside. So it'll be worth seeing what the end of the season brings regarding that. The strawberries are now nearly all gone. We are still getting one or two, but they're putting up their runners now. So I'm gonna cut the runners off and see if we get any more fruit, and then, you know, September time I'll leave the runners grow and make fresh plants for next year. My pear tree that side is, well, I don't think it's doing very well, in all honesty. The pears seem to have grown to a certain size and then they're not growing anymore, so not sure what to say about that. But the apple tree, the other side, is doing really well. I've got one particularly good looking apple on there, and the others are not looking too bad either. And it's sort of the first year that plant, or that tree rather, has produced anything. So very excited for that. And the aubergines that I've put here are doing well too. There's no sign of any fruit on there yet, but they look like they're doing well in that position. We've just come into the back garden now, and I've got my blackberries running down there, and they have been magnificent. I have made 3 batches so far of blackberry wine, and I reckon there's at least one more batch in there, without keeping some in my freezer for later on. And this apple tree here is also doing really, really well. So I'm not really sure why that's done so well this year. I do need to stake it because it's like, but the apples on there are looking good, so that's all good. I have my beans here. These are a mixture of Blue Lake and Royal Burgundy. We're just beginning to get the first of the beans through, so that's super exciting. At least we'll have some beans here, even if they don't grow down the allotment. This is what I'm calling my triage area at the moment for my brassicas. The sprouts and the purple sprouting broccoli and cabbages that I thought could be rescued from where I hadn't potted them on, I've now potted them on, and they're in there, and they do seem to be putting out a little bit of growth in the middle. So hopefully we will have something to put in the brassica cage when I eventually get the brassica cages done. These are my other crop of main crop potatoes. They're not Mozart, and I can't remember what they are at the moment, but they've already flowered, so it doesn't mean they're ready, but they won't be long off being ready. But that's fine, I can still harvest them and see what we've got. But I feel like the Mozart around the front are doing slightly better. But anything is good, isn't it? Anything is a bonus. This bed here has my spare dwarf beans in, which is now becoming, you know, my hope for the future, since those ones down the allotment have all been eaten. And then the rest of the bed is made up of Heinz tomato plants. So hopefully they will keep growing and we'll get a good crop from them as well. I can see the dwarf beans have already got a few pods on them. So there's hope yet for some dwarf velotis this year. My Tabberry and Rhubarb border is sort of done now for the year. The Tabberries have all gone over. The Rhubarb is coming back, but I shall probably leave that. I might take a couple, but the majority of it I will just leave to die down to feed the plant for next year. But this bed is now done. And then let's head into the greenhouse and see how things are going. The tiny, tiny pepper plant is a little bit bigger than it was, but whether it'll produce anything, I'm not so sure. However, these pepper plants are going strong now. There's about 3 decent sized peppers on here. I just really need them to ripen. And it's kind of the same with a lot of these plants now. There's 2 to 3, sometimes 4 or 5 and I just need them to ripen up. But I'm so pleased with how these pepper plants are looking. I don't want to speak too soon, but this year has been the best for pepper plants that I have ever grown, because normally they don't look like this. And so hopefully we will get a harvest from them. It's just getting them to turn red is the problem. They just don't seem to want to turn red. And I'll just finish going along here. This variety is called Twingo, and this variety is Patchwork, and they're a different sort of pepper. The Twingo are meant to be yellow, I believe, and then the rest are just called red and yellow peppers. We have a bit of a jungle going on here. My aubergine plants, whilst getting massive and having flowers, have got no fruits on them whatsoever. I'm not really sure why. And then the cucumber plants at the back, sorry, it's quite hard to get a good angle. They have got cucumbers on them, but they don't seem to be growing any bigger than that. There's some fresh ones coming through, but I don't know what to say about these. I have no idea why they're not actually giving me any cucumbers. But in happier news, the sun gold is doing really well. That's ready for harvesting again. The Shirley has been magnificent this year. We're getting 2 or 3 like that every week, which is, you know, what you want. The black opal is giving us a good amount as well. And then the big boy is doing really well too. I have harvested a big boy from there, but you'll see that in next week's video because I've already filmed that bit. So that's why it's not here for me to show you today. So really happy with those tomato plants there. And then I've got this cucumber plant here, which is exactly the same as those 2 I showed you in the autopods. But this one seems to be producing a lot more cucumbers. They're going to be a good size because they're meant to be the long, thin ones. And there's a couple more down here as well. So I've no idea what the difference between the plant being in this spot to being over there is. But this one is producing much better. And this one is just in a normal 10-litre pot that I water every 1 or 2 days, depending on how hot it gets in here. And then these 3 tomato plants are the ones that I grew myself, and they're just slightly behind because I grew them later than the shop bought ones that are down there. But we have still got flowers on them, so we should hopefully get a nice crop of tomatoes off them once those other ones finish. Well, that was the plan anyway, so fingers crossed that actually works. And these tomato plants that were in the greenhouse are doing well. They're looking a bit floppy at the moment. It's just because I haven't staked them up. I need to just go and stake them up, and it's getting a bit windy. We're meant to have a thunderstorm today. It's been so warm that it's really welcome, the thunder and lightning, and fingers crossed the rain. So these tomato plants are doing well. And then just further up, I've got a couple of pots of Swiss chard, and that's doing well too. The chickens love that because they, I feed it to them. I pick it fresh and give it to them, and they're really happy with that. I've got a couple of sunflowers left here that are ready to go in the ground. I just need to find a space for them. And this plum tree here has produced this year. It didn't produce much last year, but it's made up for it this year. And we've got a load of plums on here. So fingers crossed I'll be able to make some plum wine this year. Well, that's it from me. All I can say about the tour today is what a plum job it has been. Oh no, that's not my catchphrase, is it? All I can say about my tour today is lovely job. Please take care, everybody, and join me next time when I will be getting on with some more jobs.